Good morning, Senior Pride here. This morning I'm going to discuss the upcoming U.S. federal election. Now, why am I, a Canadian woman, Canadian citizen and resident, discussing the U.S. election? Because like it or not, the outcome will impact Canada, think trade, and may indirectly impact our upcoming federal election. The official date of the election is November 5th, 2024. So very close. The polls show a very tight lead, a very tight race, but a slight lead for Harris over Trump. The information I'm about to impart comes from both American and international sources. Through American news sources, it has become quite apparent that both parties have their supporters for very different reasons. As a Canadian woman, there are many reasons that I support Harris. Trump, although vague about his policies, has made clear that trade relations with Canada and many other countries will be disrupted. His lack of understanding about where the U.S. obtains natural resources is quite apparent. This being said, let's discuss the 5 most important issues driving American voters' choices. This information comes from the Pew Resource Center, and I will be including a link to it at the end of this video. The first issue, according to Pew, 81% of Americans are focused on the economy. Specifically, 68% of Harris supporters versus 93% of Trump supporters are focused on the economy. Second is healthcare. 65% of Americans are focused on healthcare, with it being 76% of Harris voters versus 55% of Trump voters. Third, Supreme Court appointees. 63% of all voters, 73% of Harris voters versus 54% for Trump. Fourth is foreign policy. 54% for Harris and 70% for Trump. And fifth, violent crime. 46% for Harris and 76% for Trump. Clearly, the two groups differ on how important they consider each of these issues, but they do consider them important. Other issues were explored and also show a clear division between these voting groups, where 82% of Trumpers were concerned about immigration issues including gun policy, abortion, racial and ethnic inequality, and climate change appeared immaterial to the Trump supporters, yet very important to the Harris supporters. Women's issues were not directly explored, although the study does evaluate the importance of abortion rights, with 35% of Trumpers versus 67% of Harris supporters, so almost twice as many Harris supporters. I have added a link to the Pew Research Center, as I said, at the end of this video. Now, according to Tufts University, Trump made a promise to, quote, carry out the largest domestic deportation operation in American history, end quote. What is known is that deportation of undocumented immigrants is complex and involves legislation that may make this task undoable. Trump has also promised to withdraw aid to Ukraine and withdraw from NATO. The implications for this are serious. Nuclear proliferation, the US dollar no longer being the world's reserve currency in a polarized world, and a loss of highly educated, highly intelligent workers from abroad will help to build a stronger Europe. The EU will become the world's leader. Both sides seem to consider the American protections for freedom of speech as problematic. This was interesting. Where Trump seems happy to just ignore legal protections, Harris appears to consider this particular freedom, at least according to Tufts, a privilege. In regard to public health care, it comes as no surprise that Trump has celebrated the overturning of Roe versus Wade, which directly and negatively impacts women's health. Ultimately, it is women who must bear the burden of unwanted pregnancies and non-viable pregnancies. Trump also supports reducing access to public health care, has supported anti-vaccine policies, thus increasing risk of serious illnesses such as COVID. His anti-health policy extends further and has the potential to impact all Americans, including, but not limited to, women, children, and seniors. Harris believes in restoring reproductive rights, increasing access to public health, and increasing seniors' access to home-based care through Medicare. As for trade, Trump plans even more aggressive policies, adding to those he implemented during his presidency. And I kind of touched on this before, but I'm going to be a little clearer now. Simply put, if Trump is elected, Americans should be prepared to pay a lot more for a lot less. I have included a link to Tufts Fletcher at the end of this video. Many Americans, as well as those of us internationally, are expressing their views on this election. Everything from commentary on Donald Trump's current cognitive state to Kamala Harris's gender. What is clear is that Americans are divided. Some desire a land where women are expected, even forced, to bear babies and are denied health care in the case of non-viable pregnancies, which is already happening in the United States, where members of the GLBTQIA community are persecuted legally, where violence on the basis of age, race, religion, gender, and sexual orientation are condoned, and where the United States becomes increasingly insular to its detriment. Excuse the hand, folks. Alternately, others desire a country where diversity and equality are celebrated, where a woman of color can be elected president and men are safe to respect her, where resources in healthcare exist for all, not just the wealthy few, and where international relations are improved, thereby improving the American economy and its prosperity. Remember, economy was the most important issue. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the subscribe button and explore my videos. Yeah, they're not great, but they're getting better. And remember, to be a senior is to be proud. Hugs, links to the Pew Research Center and Tufts Fletcher are going to be provided, as I said. Thank you so much. Again, hugs. Bye-bye.